The rain hit the Montana dirt road in heavy drops that made the ground feel like wet clay. Briggs Talford pulled the collar of his coat up and stared at the tall iron gates in front of him. The name Creel Ranch curved across them like a warning. He checked the soggy paper in his pocket again. It clearly said Morrison Ranch. The merchant who gave him the directions had been drunk, but Briggs hoped the old fool remembered right. Briggs had spent 12 years alone in the mountains. He trapped animals, guided hunters, and stayed away from people as much as he could. After everything that happened in Denver, he believed distance from others was the only safe thing for everyone, but money was short now. He needed this $5 delivery job to help him get through the rest of spring. He never thought a simple delivery would lead him to a place like this, with a house big enough to shame the sky. He pushed the gate open and walked the long, muddy path toward the white porch. Every step left a dark mark on the clean boards as he knocked on the tall front door. A sharp-looking woman in a gray dress opened it with a face tight enough to crack stone. "Deliveries go round the back," she said. Her eyes narrowed at his boots as if she could smell the mud. Briggs tipped his hat. "Begging your pardon, ma'am?" "I got a delivery for Morrison Ranch, but your gate says Creel Ranch. Hoping I ain't lost." "Morrison Ranch burned 3 years ago." The owner left for California. Her tone was cold like winter ice. Before Briggs could react, a strong, yet soft voice came from deeper inside the house. "What is going on, Mrs. Henley?" A woman stepped forward, and Briggs forgot how to breathe. She had smart green eyes full of life and hair the color of autumn leaves. She wore a simple blue dress with boots muddy enough to show she worked for a living. She carried both grace and strength like she was born with it. "This man has a delivery from Morrison Ranch," Mrs. Henley said with a sigh. "Wrong address." The woman looked at Briggs with a gaze that saw everything the mountains had carved into him. "Morrison is long gone. Come inside and get warm while we figure this out." Briggs entered the grand foyer, trying not to stain the smooth floor, failing with each step. She led him to a warm parlor where the fire glowed bright. "I am Mrs. Zadie Creel," she said. No ring on her finger, yet she held herself like someone who ran the whole world. "And you are?" "Briggs Talford, mountain man. I live up in the high country most of the year. A merchant told me Morrison needed this special tack delivered." He opened his satchel and pulled out the fancy silver and leather bit and bridle. It looked like something a king would own. Zaid touched the leather lightly. "Beautiful work. Morrison always liked fancy things." Mrs. Henley brought coffee and looked upset about the mess Briggs made. The coffee tasted better than anything he had in months. He tried not to stare at Zaid, but every time the firelight hit her hair, he forgot the cold world outside. "What will you do now?" she asked. "Ride back. Try to return this. But then I lose that pay I need." Quote. Before she could answer, a loud crash exploded through the room. A round man in a cook's apron had tripped with a pot of stew. Brown gravy flew up and splattered the walls, the floor, and both Briggs and Zaid. The cook sat frozen in the puddle of stew, red-faced. Zaid laughed. Not a polite laugh. A real one. A warm one. Something soft broke inside Briggs at the sound. Briggs lifted a clean handkerchief and wiped gravy from her cheek. Her breath caught, and something changed between them. Something neither wanted to say aloud. They followed the cook to the kitchen, leaving the housekeeper behind to rant in silence. The kitchen felt real and lived in. Zaid's hands wrapped around a fresh cup of coffee. She watched him with thoughtful eyes. "What kind of work do you do besides deliveries?" "Hunt, trap, fix things that break. Worked cattle some." "I have 8,000 cattle and a broken water system," she said, "and a foreman who quit. I need help. Real help." Briggs raised a brow. "What kind of help you asking?" 2 months of work, through spring roundup, $50 a month and a place to stay. But you must prove yourself, handle the cattle, fix the water, and attend social events with me without embarrassing this ranch." Briggs thought about long winters alone and empty pockets. "What's the catch?" he asked. "One more thing. she said with a teasing spark in her eyes. "Make me sleep through the night. No worries waking me. 3 nights. If you do that, I raise your pay, and you stay here permanent." Briggs took a slow breath. "And if I fail, I take my pay and leave forever." "Yes," she said. He reached across the table and took her hand. A jolt shot through him like lightning. "I accept." Her lips curled into a smile. "Welcome to Creel Ranch, Mr. Talford." Outside, the rain began to ease, but inside the fire of something new had just begun to burn. Briggs Talford woke early each morning before the first rooster crowed. The spring air still held a bite of winter as he worked alongside the ranch hands. Most of them watched him with caution at first. A mountain man showing up out of nowhere to be their boss did not sit right with everyone. But when the cattle pushed against the fences or a horse fought the bridle, Briggs had a calm way that earned respect without a single loud word. The ranch came alive under his hands. He rode long trails into the hills, counting cattle and repairing fences. He worked the irrigation lines himself, patching leaks and clearing channels, until the water flowed true again. Some nights he returned to his cabin so tired he could barely pull off his boots. Yet every night, almost without meaning to, his boots ended up walking toward the warm light in the big house. Sometimes he found Zade in the office, struggling through long columns of numbers. Other nights, she would sit on the porch, coffee in hand, staring into the dark like she was searching for someone. She had strong shoulders, but Briggs saw the weight she carried. She protected her ranch like a mother protects her child. She fought loneliness like she fought droughts and thieves and sickness. Quiet. Without complaint. One evening, after days of fixing a deep break in the eastern fence line, Briggs found her checking the horses in the barn. Her hair was messy from the wind. Her cheeks were flushed. To him, she looked more beautiful than any woman in a fine dress ever could. "How bad is it?" she asked. "Bad enough we need to work through the night," Briggs said. "Fence won't hold till morning." Without a word, she grabbed gloves and walked beside him back to the fence. Clouds rolled heavy overhead. Thunder rumbled far off. They worked with lantern light flickering against the posts. She did not complain once. She moved sure and strong, every motion sharp with purpose. They were threading a thick wire through a tight cinch when she grunted in frustration. Briggs stepped behind her, his chest brushing her back. "Here, let me show you," he said softly. His hands guided hers, the warmth of her body pressed against his. The wire moved slowly, steady, slipping little by little. Her breath caught when his thumb brushed her wrist. "There," he whispered. "Ease it in at the right angle. Quote." Her face turned toward his. Her eyes shined in the lantern light. Their lips almost touched. Lightning cracked overhead. Before either could move, Orville burst through the barn like a runaway steer, carrying a plate stacked with sandwiches. He tripped over a coil of wire and crashed into a pile of hay, sandwich pieces flying everywhere. Zade began laughing, leaning against Briggs to stay upright. He caught her shoulders gently. She looked up at him, cheeks warm, breath short. "That's one," she whispered. "One night of good sleep earned." But the moment was broken when a lone rider approached through the storm. They stepped out of the barn, boots sinking into the wet dirt as the horse stopped near the porch. Cortland Vera. He was polished and sharp, a man used to being admired. His smile was pleasant, but his eyes held a cold hunger. "Mrs. Creel," he said, tipping his hat without warmth. "I see you hired a mountain drifter to run your ranch." Briggs felt his fists tighten. Zade stepped forward, chin lifted. "Mr. Talford is foreman here, and he does his job well. What do you want, Cortland?" "I'm simply concerned about your future," Vera said smoothly. "This place is too much for one woman to handle. Rumor says your finances are stretched thin." "That's none of your business," she snapped. "Oh, but it is," he replied. "I plan to buy water rights from several ranches soon. It would be a shame if Creel Ranch found itself dry." Briggs stepped between them. "You threatening her?" Vera looked amused. "Just business. But since you mentioned threats, allow me to offer a chance to show loyalty." He handed Zaid an embossed invitation. "A cattleman's dinner next Saturday. It would be rude not to attend. And bring your foreman if he can behave in polite society." His smirk barely hid the insult. Then he rode off into the dark. Zaid stared after him, her jaw hard. "He wants to embarrass us," she said quietly. "Make you look like a fool in front of everyone. Prove I made a mistake hiring you." Briggs touched her elbow gently. "Let him try." She looked at him, a spark of trust lighting her eyes. "Then we go, and we show them exactly who we are." The Grand Imperial Hotel glowed with dozens of lamps the night of the cattleman's dinner. Briggs wore a black suit Zaid had found in a trunk. It was a bit tight across his shoulders, but he looked sharp enough to fool most folks. "Stop pulling at the collar," Zaid whispered as they stepped inside. "You look fine." But Briggs could feel eyes on him. Polished ranchers and their wives gossiped behind fancy fans and smirking smiles. They looked at his worn hands and mountain man's shoulders like he did not belong. Vera greeted them with a snake's grin. "Welcome. Try not to break anything," he said. Briggs kept calm. This fight was not with fists. But trouble hit fast. The seam of his suit coat split right at the shoulder. Some folks snickered. Briggs felt heat creep up his neck. Before he could say a word, Zaid tapped her glass for silence. "This is not a tear," she announced. "It's a custom seam. Mountain men often must reach tools quickly in danger. Mr. Talford's clothing is made for skill and speed. Something many could learn from." Quote. Laughter turned into impressed murmurs. Briggs stared at her, stunned by her quick mind and fierce protectiveness. Vera's smile faded just a bit, but he wasn't done. Briggs could feel trouble brewing. He knew the night had only begun, and the real test was yet to come. The dinner continued with small traps laid everywhere for Briggs. Someone switched his dance card, so he was paired with little girls instead of grown women. He did not let anger show. He laughed with the children and showed them a simple dance. Soon the whole room was clapping along, and the children looked at him like a hero. Then someone switched his auction paddle. Briggs accidentally bid $30 for a tiny lace doily. People chuckled. Zaid looked ready to defend him again, but Briggs stood tall and said, "It's for the orphanage? Then I'm proud to give." That earned real applause. Still, every smile from Vera said he was waiting for one big failure. One moment he could point at and say, "See? He does not belong." Quote, just when Vera raised his glass for a cruel toast, the dining hall doors slammed open because fate had a funny way of showing itself. Orville Cantrell came running in, holding a giant cake decorated with sugar roses. His apron was too long, and his boots were too slippery. Briggs saw what was coming and could not even speak fast enough. Orville tripped. The cake flew up high like a carnival act and hit the great chandelier above, breaking into a storm of frosting and crumbs. Cake rained down over everyone, but one man took almost all of it. Cortland Vera. Pink frosting covered his perfect hair and fancy coat. He stood frozen like a statue of embarrassment. The whole room held a breath. Then Zaid clapped. "What a spectacular presentation," she said loudly. "No one here will forget this night." The laughter burst like firecrackers. Briggs lifted his glass and toasted Orville as the finest cook in Montana. Even Vera's closest friends could not hide their amusement. The battle was over. Briggs and Zaid had won the night. 3 days later, though, trouble came back wearing a polished smile. Cortland Vera paid Zaid a private visit. He fed her lies with honeyed words, said Briggs only wanted her money, that he had debts and a dark past, that mountain men were never to be trusted. She tried to stay strong, but doubt is a slow poison. When Briggs walked into the office that evening, she would not meet his eyes. "Briggs," she began quietly, "tell me the truth. Why did you leave Denver? Why 12 years alone in the mountains? And do you owe money?" Quote. Briggs's heart tightened. He didn't run from the questions. "I killed a man," he said. "Defending a woman he was hurting. Judge cleared me, but his brothers promised revenge. So I left civilization for peace. As for money, I owe $12 for supplies. That's all." Still, Zaid needed proof. Hurt flashed in Briggs's eyes, but he understood. Before he could speak again, Orville busted in, holding a paper. "I'm sorry," he cried. "I wrote this so people would know, mister. Briggs helps everyone without asking. Then I put it in the wrong place, and now the whole town knows." Zaid read the long list. Fixing Mrs. Henley's roof. Helping a family after a fire. Teaching a boy knots. Fixing gates and tables and doors without coin. Not asking thanks. Each line softened the doubt in her heart. She opened Briggs's savings pouch and found $37 saved carefully. She read the receipt for the $12 owed. Her eyes filled with shame. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I believed the wrong man." Briggs stepped close. "You believed what you saw first, a stranger with muddy boots. You had every right to ask." She cupped his face gently. "I believe you now, in every way." He kissed her, and this kiss was deep and true, all promise, all hope. "I love you, Zaid," he murmured. "And I love you, Briggs," she replied. She smiled. "You have given me 3 full nights of rest. You earned your evening." Zaid prepared a special night just for them. Lanterns lit the garden, and she wore a blue dress that made her look like the night sky itself. She cooked with her own hands, stubborn and proud. They ate, they danced under stars, they told each other truths, dreams, scars, fears. Briggs took something from his pocket, a small metal piece he made by hand. 2 letters, S and B, shaped like a heart inside a horseshoe. "I don't want to be your hired hand," he said softly. "I want to be your home. Marry me." She kissed him with tears in her eyes. "Yes, forever yes." Weeks later, they married under wild roses. The whole territory came. Even Vera, though he left early when Orville spilled lemonade on his fancy boots. Briggs carried Zaid over the threshold, laughter echoing through Creel Ranch. No, Creel Talford Ranch now. Years passed. Children's giggles filled the halls. Water flowed strong. Cattle were healthy and free. The ranch thrived because 2 people who once felt lost found their place side by side. At sunset, Briggs and Zaid sat on a hill while their children chased fireflies below. Home stretched far and wide around them. "Look what we built," she whispered. "Look what we became," he answered. She leaned into him, breathing easy, safe. That alone meant more than any money. "Only one thing left to fix," she said playfully. "What's that?" He smiled. She whispered in his ear, the same bold words from the barn long ago. "Briggs, please allow me to put the tip." He laughed softly and kissed her. "Always with your permission, Mrs. Talford." Their love belonged to the land now, strong, lasting forever home.